37 Planned Parenthood affiliates improperly applied for and received a total of $80 million in emergency coronavirus relief funds. In a story first exclusively reported by Fox News, the federal government now wants that money back and is reaching out to each Planned Parenthood affiliate that was involved. Emergency Paycheck Protection Program, or PPP funds, are for small businesses with fewer than 500 employees, whereas Planned Parenthood Federation of America has more than 600 employees alone. This news breaks after a group of senators last week introduced a bill that would block abortion businesses from receiving emergency loans during the COVID-19 pandemic. That bill is called the Limiting Infant Fatality and Empowering Nonprofit Organization Workforces, or Life Now Act. It would forbid the taxpayer funding of abortion businesses under the program. It also modifies regulations so nonprofits with more than 500 employees can be eligible for emergency PPP loans during the pandemic. If passed, this means more churches, YMCAs, and other faith-based groups could apply for PPP loans, but not abortion groups. Senator James Lankford of Oklahoma is one of the senators who introduced this Life Now Act. He joins us via Skype from Capitol Hill. Senator, welcome back to the show. I want to get to your bill, but first, what is your reaction to news that Planned Parenthood improperly received $80 million in emergency coronavirus relief funds?
Yeah, disappointed but not surprised. Planned Parenthood's been known to try to skirt around the law in the sale of body parts and what they have done over the years by not reporting different incidents that have come through their clinics. So we know what they have done in the past, but it's really stunning to be able to see basically taking $80 million from the American taxpayer and from small businesses in particular. I mean, this program was set up for entities that are small, that are struggling. Planned Parenthood is a $1 billion a year organization. They're clearly not struggling through this process. They have the capital resources, and just like the Los Angeles Lakers, when they took the loan, they paid it back. Shake Shack took out the loan and then they were challenged. They paid it back. Planned Parenthood most certainly should pay this back as well. They knew it was against the policies of this to be able to take that aid. They did it anyway. They need to return those funds immediately.
Was this a failure on the federal government's part?
It is. The Small Business Administration should have picked it up. Clearly, they should have seen a Planned Parenthood affiliate was not a small business. And the way the law is set up already, to the Small Business Administration, if you're an affiliate organization, then you don't qualify. That's why, as you mentioned before at the top of the broadcast, groups like the YMCA don't qualify because though a local YMCA may be less than 500 people on their staff, obviously, they're affiliated with a larger group, and so they don't qualify on that. Planned Parenthood knew that rule. Small Business Administration knew that rule. Small Business Administration should have caught this and stopped it before it was ever processed. But again, Planned Parenthood was well aware of what the rules were. They were trying to get their affiliates to be able to engage, to be able to get these federal tax dollars when they knew they were not qualified.
Can you tell our viewers about the Life Now Act, which you just introduced last week, and how it would have prevented Planned Parenthood from receiving these emergency funds?
Well, actually, the law itself, the CARES Act, originally, it prevents Planned Parenthood to get it. Planned Parenthood skirted around it and tried to get those funds anyway. So that was already the law would block that from as it currently stands. The Life Now Act is Kelly Loeffler from Georgia and Steve Daines and myself and multiple others that introduced this. We introduced this bill to basically help nonprofits like YMCA. There are nonprofits that are out there that really do need the help. But we don't want to be able to extend this kind of help to an abortion clinic, for instance. We firmly believe abortion is not health care. That's taking of life, not protecting life. And but for nonprofits that are out there helping feed the homeless, that are trying to be able to give shelter, that are trying to be able to help people with mental health issues, those nonprofits definitely need the help. Now, the vast majority of nonprofits already receive funds from the Paycheck Protection Program. Any nonprofit or faith-based entity, any church group, including denominations, because faith-based connections are different than other affiliate connections. Those faith-based groups all over the country already receive this kind of assistance. But we want to make sure our largest nonprofits also receive that help without that money going to abortion.
Senator, before your days on Capitol Hill, you served students and families for more than 20 years in Christian ministry. Can you speak to the reality of how faith-based groups truly do serve families in times of great need and how this contrasts with how abortion businesses claim to help families.
Yeah, so obviously abortion clinics are actually demolishing families in the process and taking families apart. Nonprofits around the country are the foundation of our safety net. I tell people all the time, there's really three safety nets for any individual in our society. The family is the first safety net, and that's the vital one. The second safety net are nonprofits and churches, faith-based groups around the country that they step in and provide the hands and feet to be able to help people through the most difficult times. The third safety net is the government. And a lot of folks look initially and say, hey, there's a problem with an individual or a family or a community. They look to government first. But really, the first place they should look is to families. The second place they should look is to nonprofits. We've got to be able to make sure those organizations stay stable. There's no way the government can keep up with all of the needs that are across our country unless we have strong churches and strong nonprofits around the country taking care of the greatest human needs in a face-to-face, practical, very efficient manner. So many things in the CARES Act allow for additional contributions to be written off on your federal income tax if you'll donate to a nonprofit during this time of need. That was included. Even if you don't itemize your taxes, if you can give up to $300 to a nonprofit and you can just take that off the top of next year's income tax if you'll donate to any nonprofit during this time period. So that's a great help to be able to help them with the resources they need to be able to help people, to help stabilize our safety net that's out there.
Last question, real quick. Do you think your bill, the Life Now Act, will be brought up for a vote?
We don't know yet. We're definitely going to continue to be able to push the concept. We believe that this is part of just basic helping take care of the communities. So we don't believe, again, taking of life is healthcare. That's not something that benefits families, but we do want to make sure that we can do everything we can to be able to protect families. What we've already passed into law is the items to be able to help nonprofits be able to be a part of the Paycheck Protection Program. That's never happened before with any kind of assistance, but we pushed very hard on that, and my team and I were very engaged in that process. The same thing with the charitable giving. We want to be able to help that. We think this is another reasonable proposal like those, that those are law. This should also be law to protect life now.
Senator James Lankford of Oklahoma, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
We continue this conversation with pro-life analysis from Prudence Robertson, the communications associate for the Susan B. Anthony list. She joins us via Skype. Prudence, what's your reaction to news that Planned Parenthood improperly received emergency COVID-19 funds, and what action should be taken next?
Honestly, Catherine, we are just appalled that Planned Parenthood has once again exploited the fears of Americans during this crisis. I mean, since day one, we've seen them really just abuse the whole situation. And, they have diverted precious personal protective equipment to their own facilities, taking it away from patients with COVID-19 in critical condition. They have put their staff and women at risk. And now they've gone one step further to take important taxpayer funds that were being used to help small businesses who need this money to stay afloat, and they're using it to take innocent lives. And, not only is Planned Parenthood not legally eligible for this money, but they really don't need it. They don't need it at all. Planned Parenthood's annual report last year reported that they have nearly $2 billion in net assets already.
Wow, that is an important reminder for our viewers. And Prudence, we just spoke to Senator Lankford about his Life Now Act. Can you break down the pro-life impact this bill could have?
Sure. So the Life Now Act is a plan that would give nonprofits more COVID-19 relief funds, which is a wonderful thing and is much needed right now. And Senator Lankford, along with the other senators who penned this legislation, made doubly sure and took extra care to ensure that abortion providers would not be included in this stream of funding. And, that's very important, and we're so grateful for it. Right now, Americans are worried about whether or not they're going to go back to work next week or next month, or whether the country is going to reopen in the foreseeable future. So the last thing we need right now, when the country is working to recover together from this crisis, is for money to be thrown to the abortion lobby so that abortionists can continue to take the innocent lives of little children.
Prudence, on a different piece of legislation, last week the House of Representatives passed a $3 trillion COVID-19 relief package with a number of funds tied to abortion. But Senate GOP leadership has said this package would be dead on arrival at the Senate. So should the pro-life movement even be concerned?
I mean, Catherine, it's really just shameful that Pelosi and the Democrats would once again use this opportunity to push their radical abortion agenda. And, they do it time and again. And you and I both know by now that Americans, the majority of them, do not want their taxpayers funding abortion. And yet Democrats continue to aid Planned Parenthood and the abortion industry in their mission to make a profit off of the killing of unborn children. And luckily and thankfully, we have strong pro-life leadership in the Senate, and we know that President Trump will work with them, and we trust them together to make sure that this bill doesn't pass, because it does not protect the Hyde Amendment. It does not include the Hyde Amendment, which the previous packages have all included. So we're not worried about this bill passing, because we know that the Senate and President Trump will work to protect Hyde.
Prudence Robertson with the Susan B. Anthony List. Thank you so much for that important reminder about the reality of the abortion business and for that pro-life analysis. Thank you.
Thanks, Catherine.